Some folks feel that they've developed this intuition, this knack for being a great hirer just by meeting people. And in fact, usually employers tell us that during the first 10 seconds of an appointment, they've made a decision about whether or not this is a good candidate or not. And they'll go on asking more questions to try to validate that, but it's this law of first impressions. Well, let's look at what the research tells us. Work done at Michigan State University has indicated by looking at a variety of people who are making hiring decisions that when they depend on the interview and their intuition in the interview to make the hiring decision, they're successful in predicting high performance 14% of the time. So I know you're probably better than that. But in a great hiring program, there are really three distinct components that you're building together. And if you diminish the importance of any one of those three, statistically we know that you're going to diminish the chances of making a great hire. So the first component of a great hiring program is that you've got to document what the person's already accomplished in the past. And we do that by looking at their resume. And by the way, you should be confirming what that resume says because we know from research that over 50% of resumes contain false information. You're also going to do the reference checks. And I know you might say, well, it's hard to get hold of people and some are going to tell me more than others. But you have to give it some effort because a lot of times you get valuable information by those conversations that you have with people who've worked with this candidate in the past. And then also background checks. More and more it's important, whether it's a drug test or it's criminal background, especially if you're talking about hiring somebody for a significant role, background checks should be a part of documenting their past history. That's the first component. The second component is what's their future potential. And the way that you take a look at that is by doing some assessing to identify what's their behavioral style, what are the recurring patterns of behavior that you can use in this job to help create great performance. What motivations do they bring to the job? Where are they going to get the internal motivation so that they don't need to be supervised? They're supervising themselves because of this passion that they bring to the work. And what are the thinking patterns? How do they use common sense? What kind of common judgment do they have? And there are ways that you can measure that through assessments. So the second component is defining their potential in the future through assessments. And then the third component, now we get to your interview. But in the interview, you're looking at a few different things. You're looking, first of all, at what is the first impression like? Is this somebody that you think is going to be able to easily build rapport and influence with the people that it's important for them to work with in the particular job? And obviously, some jobs require more interaction than others. The second thing is, how do you see them fitting as part of the chemistry of your team? Do you see them as being a great team member, or do you think that they're going to sort of stick out? And then the third thing is, how good of a listener are they? Because one thing we know is that any employee to be great has to develop good listening skills. So you're looking at these three components: their past history, their future potential, and their presence. And that's how you do a great job of making a hiring decision.